Tired of life just happening to you? Sick of your daily routine and want to experience real progress? Tired of cheap hacks and skeptical about anyone trying to give you their 10-cent motivation? Welcome to the ABCs for Purposeful Living podcast, the place that takes the bedrock foundational principles of success and breaks them up into smaller rocks that you can take and use for your own construction, as you build the life of your dreams the way that you want it. Stop living by default. Get busy designing. Let the podcast begin. David Thurmer is an award-winning transformational life coach, leadership expert, and speaker. He's worked with over 100,000 people across 34 countries for the past 10 years, helping them to experience major change in their lives and to implement habits and rituals to ensure that the progress is lasting. Through his immersive seminars, live events, and coaching retreats, he makes you shake down your life, beliefs, and habits to their foundations in order to help you build a more intentional and powerful future. It's these foundations that he is bringing to you week by week in these podcasts, with the goal of helping you, wherever you may be, to get a hold of your life and turn it into something amazing. Welcome to the ABCs of Purposeful Living podcast.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the ABCs of Purposeful Living podcast. My name is David Thurmer and I am so happy to have you here with me once again on this show as we are going to be examining the foundational principles for your success to see how you can build the life of your dreams upon them. Our focus for this week is the letter E, and we're going to talk about exposing your excuses. Now, why do I want to talk about exposing your excuses? Through this time together, I want you to realize the power that words have over your life. In fact, words are powerful things. They can either build up or tear down. They can create or they can destroy. And in your life, you probably would have seen two types of work crews that go around in different parts of the world. One work crew is the construction crew, and the construction crew is tasked with building up a particular building. They dig the foundations, and then they lay the concrete and cement, they erect the steel rods, and then they start putting everything else in place. The bricks, the concrete, the steel, the paint, the plaster, and slowly the building takes shape. And from the hard work and labor of these people, out comes a magnificent masterpiece. However, there is another type of crew, and this crew's work is very short. But this crew completely undoes the work of the other crew because they are the wrecking crew, the demolition crew. And their job is, when a building is no longer fit to be used, they go, lace dynamite across it, connect everything to a trigger, get a safe distance away, press the button, and down the structure comes. What took years and years of creative labor to build takes only a few minutes to tear completely to the ground. Two different crews, the construction crew and the demolition crew. One builds up, one tears down. That is the power of your words. And that's why the ancient man of wisdom, the man who was responsible for over 3,000 proverbs that now exist in our modern day language, said this, that death and life are held in the power of the tongue. Your words have the power to bring death or bring life. And that's why the famous poet Daniel Clement, in his poem called Kind Words, said this, a little word in kindness spoken, a motion or a tear, has often healed the heart that's broken and made a friend sincere. A word, a look has crushed to earth full many a huddling flower, which had a smile but owned its birth, would bless its darkest hour. Then deem it not an idle thing, a pleasant word to speak, for the face you wear and the thoughts you bring, a heart may heal or break. That is the power of words. Building up, tearing down. Now, much has been said about the power of words in reference to others and to our relations with others, and so I will not spend long on this because it's not the topic of this podcast. If you would like to go and study it, I encourage you to do so, because the more intimately you are aware of the power of your words in relations to your connections with others, the better off you will be in building interpersonal relationships. However, that is not the focus of this podcast. This podcast is about you and your own personal success. And so what I will focus on is the power of your words to shape your own life and destiny, to build it up or tear it down, to construct the life of your dreams or to completely demolish it. And on this subject, unfortunately, not much has been said at all, at least not in the public domain. Scholars and academics and psychologists have been harping on this for years at an academic level, but seldom has it been offered to the regular layman, me or you, in the terms that he can understand, and as a result of that understanding, apply it. That is why I have chosen to focus this podcast on that. Through this time together, I want you to examine the inner workings of your internal dialogue to find out where and how you may be hindering your own success through the power of your words, through the power of your dialogue, through the power of the story that you are telling yourself. First of all, let's come to the agreement that life is hard. Can we both agree on this? If you're truly honest with yourself, you will see that life involves suffering. Life, at the fundamental level, involves pain and difficulty. All of life has challenges. Life itself begins with pain. Babies are born through pain. The greatest lessons of our life involve pain as we grow. Our bodies hurt from falling as we learn to walk. Our limbs hurt as they are stretched as we grow taller and larger and stronger. Our brains hurt as we try to take new information in to enhance our learning experience on this planet. And in every aspect of our lives, we will face some form of trouble and opposition. The more we try to accomplish, the more we try to do, the more opposition and struggle we will face. And that is why Jesus Christ himself said, "In this world you will have tribulation." And I find this so fitting, because the only place in this world that I'm aware of where people have no troubles, do you know where they live? We call them graveyards. We call them cemeteries. If you're breathing, you will have difficulties. That is just the way that life is. If you are alive, you are going to be facing hard times. In this world, you do have tribulation. Is just a part of life. But believe it or not, most of our problems can actually be good for us. Challenged and tested, we come alive. Physical demands cause us to grow stronger. Mental and emotional stress can produce tough-mindedness and resiliency. Spiritual testing can produce strength of character and faithfulness to our goal. So if you have problems, that's no problem, because you are getting opportunities to grow and to expand and to reach your full potential. So we are going to talk about this in depth next week. Next week, we're going to talk about facing fears and growing through challenges. So I don't want to spend too much time on it now. But it is important that we establish the fact right now that there is a direct correlation between value and difficulty. The greater the difficulty, the greater the value. And that is why the famous British inventor and engineer, Sir Henry Bessemer, said this: "A bar of steel is worth $5. When made into horseshoes, is worth $10. If made into needles, it is worth $350. If made into pocket knife blades, it is worth $32,000. And if it's made into springs for watches, it is worth $250,000. But what a drilling the poor bar must undergo to be worth this! But the more it is manipulated, the more it is hammered and passed through the fire and beaten and pounded and polished, the greater the value. However, it is possible to miss out on the value of difficulties entirely. How is that? Through making a victim of yourself. I'll say that again. It's possible to miss out on the value of difficulties entirely through making a victim of yourself. Wherever you find a problem, you will usually find the finger pointing of blame, because our society is addicted to playing the victim. If only my partner wasn't such a domineering person. If only I had more money. If only I lived in a better place. If only I hadn't inherited such an awful temper from my father. If only my friends respected me more. If only we weren't in global recession. If only my parents were more understanding. If only, if only, if only. The excuses drone on and on. However, I want you to realize something. And this is something that we're going to talk about in depth through our podcast today. None of these things are true. They are illusions. I'll say it again. None of the things that you think that hold you back, none of the things that you think make your life living hell and keep you in the place where you are right now are true. They are illusions. Now, before you get up all in arms right now and get angry at me and tell me that I'm living in a fantasy and that I don't understand you at all and that the circumstances that you are in are very real and the people around you that are pressuring you are very real and your own personal limitations are very real, I want you to bear with me for a minute as I attempt to explain this concept to you in a deeper way. Can we do that? Good. Why do I believe that your circumstances and situations and the people in your life and the way you are illusions? Here's what I mean when I say it. The people around you, the circumstances and situations that you find yourself in, and the way that you are, these things are all very real things. Your environment is a real thing. Your limitations are real things. The people around you are very real things. However, the power that they hold over you is an illusion. And this is what I mean when I say that they are illusions, because the power that they hold over you, the power that they have to force your life into something of lesser worth than what you would make it into, is an illusion. But the problem is that most of us have given that power over to our illusions so that they have become very real obstacles. More than obstacles, they have become masters and oppressors. And you have become the victim of the circumstances of your life and the people around you and the way you are. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like a victim of your circumstance? Do you feel that you are at the mercy of the things and the people around you? I want you to realize that if you are a victim right now, chances are that it's your own fault, because you have given these things power over you. You have chosen to let these things dictate your life. I am not speaking about people currently living in modern-day slavery in a few parts of the world still till today. I am not talking about the war refugees who have been forced from their home and being chased out into the streets. I am not talking about the displaced persons who have suffered incredibly and immensely. No, I'm talking about you sitting in your house right now, frustrated, angry, and wondering why you are being sabotaged at every point and why you cannot experience personal success and why the world is against you, why people are against you, and why life itself seems to be against you and rigged out of your favor. It is you that I am talking to right now, because if you are a victim in this way, it is your own fault, because you have given power, your own power, to the things around you, and you've chosen to let these things dictate your life. We give the power over to our circumstances, and then, most heinous of all, we create excuses for ourselves to explain why these things have power over us and why we are stuck. We give the power over to our circumstances, and then we excuse it by saying that we can't do this or that because we are in this job, or we have studied for this degree, or we are financially tight, or we are from this sector of society. We give the power to the people around us, and then we excuse ourselves and say that we can't do this because our parents won't let us, or because our friends won't approve, or because our partner or spouse is this way, or because our boss is like this. We give the power over to the way that we are. And this is the most dangerous thing. And then we excuse it and say we can't lose weight because we have a low metabolism and we get headaches when we don't eat. We say that we aren't fit because we have no time to go to the gym. We say that we can't apply for that job because we are a naturally shy person. We even give the power over to our past, and then we excuse ourselves and say that we can't do this because we might have tried something similar to it before and it didn't work. To the people who are living in their own victimhood, why on earth do they do this? Why do we give our power away? The short answer is we like our victimhood. We enjoy being a victim. Now, do you find that hard to believe? It's true. And if people are actually very honest with themselves, they will admit it. We all like to play the victim. We don't enjoy the results of this. No one enjoys the results of their victimhood, because the results of their victimhood is a life filled with frustration, a life filled with pain, a life filled with suffering, and a life filled with ultimate destruction. But we enjoy the simplicity that victimhood brings to our life. People who are living in a victim mentality enjoy the simplicity it brings to their life. When they play the victim, they have someone to blame for their misfortunes. They have someone to blame for when things go wrong. But let me tell you, blame does not bring results. Blame does not bring change. Blame does not bring success. Blame does not bring happiness. All it does is confirm to you that you have no power to change, to move, and to progress. And so you remain the victim, blaming everyone and everything else for your problems and challenges may be considered completely normal in our modern day society, and it may provide temporary relief from your pain, but it does nothing to change the problem. All it does is blind you to it. How do you blind yourself to your own chosen victimhood? How do you blind yourself to the fact that you have given your power away? How do you blind yourself to the fact that you are building a life for yourself that is going to end up in suffering and destruction? Through your words. And more importantly, through the lies that you've told yourself and the excuses that you say every day to justify those lies. Words are powerful things, and you can use your words to manipulate the world into delivering what you want out of it. You can use your words to spin your own individual reality into whatever you desire it to be, to gain some sort of end for yourself. Consider the list of excuses that we furnished earlier for the reasons that we are a victim. Because we are in this particular job, or we have studied this degree, or we are financially tight, or stuck in this sector of society, or our parents are like this, or our friends won't approve, or our partner's this way, or our boss treats us like this, or we are shy people, we have anger issues, we have low metabolism, we get headaches, we have no time because of our past. All of these things are what Alfred Adler, the Austrian psychologist and compatriot of Sigmund Freud, called life lies. What is a life lie? A life lie is a false belief that someone holds on to evade responsibility while claiming that because of it they cannot achieve any one of their goals. Someone who is living a life lie is attempting to manipulate reality with their perception, thought, and through their actions, so that way only what they determine to be true can possibly exist. This will prove fatal to your success because a life lie is exactly that. It's a lie. And it is based consciously or unconsciously on two premises, both of which are completely and utterly untrue and flawed. The first premise is that all you currently know is enough to define what is good for the rest of your life. Everything you know now is all you need to know to determine what your life is going to be. It doesn't matter how old you are. Whatever you know now and whatever you're experiencing now is what's going to happen or take place for the rest of your life. And the second thing, the second premise for the life lie is that reality would be unbearable if faced. Reality is too harsh, involves too much suffering, too much difficulty. The unknown is terrible, and so I need to avoid it completely. These are the two premises that the life lie, according to Alfred Adler, is based upon. Now, both of those premises are just simply untrue. The first one is completely unjustifiable by just what we understand of philosophy and of human experience. What you know right now is not the overall or the end all or the be all. What you are experiencing right now does not determine what's happening for the rest of your life. Just think about your own life. Look at your younger self. How many times do we do things as a younger person and then we get older and we say, that was completely dumb? Oh my God, I can't believe I used to think like that. I can't believe those were the thoughts that I have. I can't believe that's what used to go through my head. We are wiser now that we are older. However, the life lie tells us that everything that we know, everything that we experience, that is what's going to happen for the rest of our life. It does not get any better than this. It's a faulty premise. And the second premise is absolutely destructive. It's absolutely damning. And that is that if you facing reality would be horrible, and so you choose another reality in order to avoid the truth. But as we saw earlier, it is the suffering that brings value. It is the suffering, it is the difficulty, it is overcoming that difficulty that brings success and meaning to your life. And through avoiding it, you only set yourself up for more difficulties down the road. To put it in simple terms, we refuse to accept that life involves suffering and that difficulty is part of the process for achieving success. So then we create another reality for ourselves that says that life should be easy. But then guess what? It's not, because life is hard. So then, and this is a very crucial thing, we create another reality that puts the blame for that difficulty onto somebody else. I'll repeat this because it is so important for us to get. We refuse to accept that life involves suffering and that difficulty can be part of the bedrock foundation for our success. We then create another reality for ourselves that says life should be easy. However, we still get hurt because life is not easy. Life at its core involves suffering. So then, what do? We create another reality for ourselves that puts the blame for that difficulty on someone else. And we create excuses to back that up. If you don't believe in brick walls, you will still be injured if you run headlong into one. However, you will then curse reality itself for producing the wall. and blame reality for turning against you. You will then create a list of straw man arguments in your mind for those who have control over you and those who are up against you. You are now stuck, and stuck against your will. It's not you, it's them, and they are evil, and they are causing your suffering, and they are keeping you stuck. However, this kind of reality is a false reality that only brings with it more suffering. As an illustration, think about a person who insists that everything in their life is right and perfect. This guy avoids conflicts, he's always smiling, and he does everything that he is asked to do. He finds a small thing that he fits into, and he hides for it. What he wants most is to be anonymous. He strives for invisibility. He does not question authority, he does not put his own ideas forward, and he does not complain when he is mistreated. However, a secret unrest always pricks at his heart, and he is still suffering because life is suffering. He is lonely, he is separated, and he has no fulfillment. His self-obliteration eliminates all the meaning in his life, and he has become nothing but a slave, nothing but a tool for others to misuse and exploit. He does not get what he wants or needs, because in order to do so, he would have to face reality. But instead, he determines not to do so. And so because of that, there is nothing of value in his existence, nothing to counterbalance the troubles of life. And that makes him sick. His hiding hasn't stopped his suffering at all. In fact, it only has made it worse. Because someone in hiding from reality is not somebody vital. Vitality requires you to contribute in a powerful way. Hiding also does not save you from disease, insanity, from death, and all the other pains of life. And hiding also means that you are suppressing your unawakened and unrealized potential. And that becomes a much bigger problem, because if you never face your difficulty, so much of what you could be will never come to the surface, because it'll never be forced forward. This is a biological truth as well as a conceptual truth. When you voluntarily confront the unknown, when you face your fears, when you face reality, you gather information and you build a renewed self out of that information. That is the conceptual element. However, researchers have recently discovered that literally there are new genes in the central nervous system that turn themselves on when anybody, any creature, any organism is placed in a new situation. These genes become codes for new proteins, and these new proteins are the building blocks for new structures in the brain. This means that a lot of who you are as a person is still undiscovered, unrealized, and untapped into. And in the most physical of senses, you will not become fully realized and fully awaken to your own potential until you face reality, until you face your challenges. You have to say something, go somewhere, and do something in order for your potential to be fully realized. And if not, you remain incomplete. You remain unrealized, and you will remain unprepared to face the difficulties of a hard, natural life. Growth is hard. Success is hard. Striving for your dreams is hard. Having a vision is difficult and dangerous because it puts you at risk of failure. But that is where success lies. That is where potential is. That is where you experience transformation. That is where you turn pain into progress. However, the life lie and the excuses used to support it is willful blindness. It's the worst sort of lie. It's subtle. It avails itself to easy excuses and rationalizations. Willful blindness is refusal to know something that could be known. And you become comfortable with your certainty. You become obsessed with your own perfection. And you end up ignoring the errors and letting things slide. And this will make the eventual pain so much worse. And then you will turn around and blame that pain on somebody else and refuse to see your power to overcome it, and instead only make your life worse and worse and bring about your own personal destruction. And that's why the great Danish literary philosopher Soren Kierkegaard coined the term inauthentic living. Now, we've heard this buzzword used multiple ways around. We hear people talk about living authentically and living out their truth and not being inauthentic. Where did that term come from? It was Soren Kierkegaard who formed that phrase over 100 years ago. And he said that living inauthentically is living in a way that contradicts reality. But it's a reality of your own that you have formed, and that reality doesn't help you. It hurts you and leads to your eventual destruction. If you try and you fail, the authentic voice says to itself, did I get my desired result? No. Then my methods were wrong. I still have something to learn. Let me improve. Let me see what I can do to get better. This is the voice of authenticity. However, the inauthentic voice, when something goes wrong, when they face failure, they say, did I get my desired result? No. Then the world is unfair, and then people are mean, and people are jealous, and people are too stupid to understand me. It is the fault of something or someone else. This is the voice of an inauthentic person. This is the voice of somebody living their life lie. Because it contradicts reality, and because they refuse to face it, and because they hold on to their excuses, they build a life of failure for themselves. And there is no blaming any of this on a lack of knowledge or a lack of awareness. When an individual creates an excuse, they know it. Now, they may willingly blind themselves to the consequences of that excuse, and they may ignore the times in the past and the negative results that have come as part of it. And he may not make the connection between the lies he's told himself in the past and the failures it led into, so he goes and repeats the process. He may even forget the fact that what he is telling himself is a lie, and so convince himself that he is acting out the truth. But he was there, present and conscious in every single decision that he made and every single action that he took, and he willfully chose to focus on a lie rather than on the facts of reality in order to escape his responsibility. And if that person is honest with himself, he will know this. And each time the self-chosen victim makes an excuse, the excuse becomes embedded deeper within their subconsciousness. Thoughts, positive or negative, will grow stronger when fertilized with constant repetition. At first, the person will know that their alibi is more or less a lie. But the more frequently you repeat it, the more convinced you become that it is completely true, and that the alibi is the real reason for not being the success that you should be. You start believing your own lies. And you start making excuses to support that. And that starts you on the downward path to suffering and destruction. And that is when your life descends into chaos, when the power of your excuses contort your mind to where it doesn't know truth from fiction. And the power of your excuses and the power of your life lies to manipulate, to trick, to falsify, to minimize, to betray, to mislead, to bias, and to exaggerate, and to confuse your reality is so endless and so horrifying, and that is why John Milton, in his classic literary piece, Paradise Lost, summarized it by saying this: the mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. And this is why Emily Dickinson, amongst her classic works of poetry, penned the following stanza to stand alone at the end of her book, measuring up all the other poetry through it. Could a mortal lip divine the undeveloped fright of the delivered syllable, it would crumble under the weight. Indeed, crumble under the weight is the perfect term to use here, for it is the pressure of the lies and excuses of our minds that cause our lives to begin to disintegrate and crumble. If you feel your life disintegrating and crumbling and falling apart, stop for a minute and think about the lies and excuses that you are making, because if you do not become aware of this, if you do not become focused on this, if you do not properly stop and consider this, your life will only fall apart even more, because the end of this road is chaos and destruction. This is not something that I am saying. This is something that social psychologists have been saying for years. Sigmund Freud believed that the continued suppression of truth is what led to eventual mental illness. Alfred Adler concluded his thesis on life lies with the assertion that sustained belief in one's victimhood would bring about both mental and physical sickness. And Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, determined that the moral issues that plagued his patients were a direct result of their continued unwillingness to face reality. The sad result of holding on to your victimhood, of holding on to your life lie, and justifying it with excuses is mental illness, eventual physical illness, and complete moral corruption and physical destruction. All these thinkers, all concerned with the psychology of the humankind, all came to the same conclusion. Your lies will warp the structure of your reality and corrupt your very soul. It is deceit that will make people miserable beyond what they can bear. It is deceit that will fill human souls with resentment and anger and vengefulness. It is deceit that produces terrible suffering of mankind, much worse than the suffering that the natural world puts on us. But what happens if instead we decide to stop making excuses and start accepting our reality? Only once something is seen for what it is can it be changed. Instead of creating excuses, we can create goals. And goals provide the necessary structure for action. Goals provide a destination and give a standard by which we can evaluate life. Goals define progress and make progress exciting. Goals reduce anxiety, because if you don't have goals, anything can mean everything or nothing, and neither of those two options will bring about your peace of mind. Truth is essential for your progress. And let me tell you something else as well. And this is a quote that I learned many years ago, and I made a mantra of mine, and if you want to, you can make it a mantra for yourself as well. This is the quote. It says, "Life is a voyage on an ocean where we have no say about the condition of the seas or the kind of ship that we are in, but we have full control over our sails." I'll say it again. Life is a voyage on an ocean where we have no say about the condition of the seas or even the kind of ship that we are in, but we have full control over our sails. You may not have any control over the situations that you are in or the people around you, but you do have control about how you respond to them, and the choices that you make ultimately affect them. Let me tell you, from looking at my own life, I didn't choose to be born. It wasn't my choice. It was my parents' choice. But when I came out, I chose to breathe. Now don't laugh at me, because I seriously chose to breathe. It was a choice because I wasn't breathing when I came out. My umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. I came out blue and not breathing. I made the choice to breathe. I didn't choose my parents or my family, but I chose to love them. I didn't choose to grow up in a household that dedicated itself to helping society and as such didn't have much money, but I chose to embrace that lifestyle and to learn how to find joy in the little things rather than feel disadvantaged for what I didn't have. I didn't choose to study at home for most of my life due to the fact that my parents' work required us to move very often, but I chose to learn anyways and to supplement my learning with things I couldn't learn in regular school. As such, I can sing, I can dance, I can act, I can paint, I can play music, I can speak on stage, I can write articles, I can write books, I can write poetry. I didn't choose to be bullied during my teenage years. No one would ever choose to be bullied and all the pain that it brings, but I chose not to give up or to become hardened against others. As such, I became able to sympathize with those who are going through the same thing and to help them get through it as well. I didn't choose to pause my education at the end of high school because my family was in need of finances. I didn't choose to get a job of walking door to door in the hot sun, selling educational materials. But I chose to accept the challenge, and that groomed the entrepreneur in me. As such, here I am now, 15 years later, founding 5 companies. 1 I've shut down, 2 I've sold, 1 I've passed on, and 1 I still run till today. And bringing it even closer, in this time of the coronavirus lockdown, I didn't choose to be stuck in another country. I didn't choose to be away from home, unable to go back. But I have chosen to make the most of it, and it has resulted in some of the most powerful months of growth in progress, some of the deepest relationships, and some of the greatest opportunities of my life so far. You may not choose the seas. You may not choose your vessel, but you can choose how to work those sails and then work the heck out of them. So examine your excuses because each excuse explains the difference between the person who is going places and the person who is barely surviving. You will find that the more successful the individual, the less inclined they are to make excuses. But the person who has gone nowhere and has no plans for getting anywhere always has a huge long list of reasons to explain why that happens. People with mediocre accomplishments are quick to explain why they haven't done it, why they don't do it, why they can't do it, and why they aren't doing it. But if you study the lives of successful people, you will discover that all the excuses made by the mediocre fellows are there and could be made by them, but they don't. Remember, both sets of people have struggles, the mediocre fellow and the successful fellow. The mediocre fellow chooses the comfort of his life lie, while the successful man or woman stares the beast of existence in the eyes and determines to wrestle with it by the horns or by the balls or by whatever part of it they can grab until they are victorious over it. So face your reality. Face your difficulties and then make something wonderful out of it. It is our responsibility to see what is before us and to learn from it, even if it seems horrible. Facing your reality is important. Only when you face your situations and face the difficulties can you truly learn from it and grow through it. And it was for this reason that Nietzsche said that a person's worth is determined by how much truth they could tolerate. Can you tolerate your reality? Can you face it? Only through facing it can you grow through it. So face it down and then make the most of it. Walk through your difficulty. Push through the challenges. Become all you can be, all that you've been designed for through passing through the struggles and experiencing the metamorphosis that awaits on the other side. This requires faith because it is an act of courage. It takes courage to refuse to make excuses and instead take sole responsibility for your life. However, this is essential for your existence. As the philosopher Kierkegaard pointed out, faith requires you face your reality while holding on to hope that you can make it better, rather than holding on to your excuses for why your reality currently sucks. I want you to remember this essential truth. Excuses never get you into anything. They only get you out of things. And if you keep making excuses, eventually they'll get you out of success itself. I want to repeat that, and you're welcome to make a note of this. Write it down, put it up wherever you can see it. Remember this. Excuses never get you into anything. They only get you out of stuff. And if you keep making excuses, eventually your excuses will get you out of success itself. So stop your excuses. Become aware of them. I want to give you an exercise to do. And this is an exercise that you can take and apply to your life today, this week. Here's the exercise. What is one thing that you know that you should do, but you've put it off because of the hard work that it entails? Could be anything. Okay? Tell yourself to go and do it. Now listen to the excuses that your inner self gives you when you've told it to go do it. Write those down. And note the tone that is used and the feeling that you get when you make those excuses. And then have a friend ask you randomly sometime in the near future, when you least expect it, if you've completed that task. Notice the excuses that you will make to them and the tone that is used and the feeling, most importantly, the feeling that you get when you make those excuses. Perhaps it'll be a dryness of your throat, a sinking of your stomach, a fluttering in your solar plexus. That's the indication that you're not speaking the truth. That is your lie tell. That is your excuses tell. Like in a hand of poker, everyone has a tell when they're bluffing. You also have a tell in your body when you are not speaking the truth. Pay attention to it. That becomes a reference point for your gut feeling. And then I want you to journal that. Write it down and remind yourself of it. And pay attention. Every time you feel that feeling coming up in you, it means that you're about to make an excuse, that you're about to hold on to a lie rather than the truth. Paying attention to this will help you become aware of those times when you are settling for an excuse and a lie rather than reality and the truth. When you feel it, stop yourself. Answer truthfully. Face reality and go and do what you need to do. If you do this in the upcoming week and in the weeks to follow, I promise you, you will come so much further along than you currently are right now. To close, it is tempting to simplify things. It's tempting to say things like, the game is rigged. Some people have all the advantages and they succeed, and some people have all the disadvantages and they fail. However, this is terribly misleading. As simplistic as it is, it's destructive. Your success is far more dependent on your choices now than it is upon where you grew up, where you went to school, or whether your path so far has been easy or difficult. Opportunity lies ahead. The greatest successes of your life lie ahead. It's only a matter of whether you choose to pursue it or not. I want to close with this quote. It says, "Concern always finds a way. Indifference always finds an excuse." At the end of the day, this is your life. It is your existence. It is your everyday experience. Are you concerned about it? Are you concerned about your life? Are you concerned about what you do? Are you concerned about succeeding? If you are, then you will find a way, no matter what the obstacle. As that famous poem by Ruby Archer says, "The poor, pitiful race of unthinkers, we shrink from the roots of things, fearing the defilement of lingers, meeting the earth where it clings. We go through life always plucking the visible blossoms of words, careless of what lies beneath them. As the honeybees or the birds, we want the flowers for garlands, if the truth of the dust be despised, and the roots of thought following our plucking, disdainful we fling all aside. But a plant cannot bloom without rootlets, and roots cannot live without the earth. No more can our works be enduring if thoughts have not truth for their birth." Base your life on truth. Face your reality. Expose your excuses. Hold on to truth and empower yourself for success. Do it now. Do it today. It's your life. Take control of it and make it a successful one. And may God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. Please do subscribe for more. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone else. Pass the help along. David is always eager to hear from you and would love to work with you in a more hands-on way. For more information, please visit our website at www.davidtherimer.com. That's www.davidtherimer.com.